It was the year 1998 in Los Angeles, and 10-year-old Lily Anderson sat quietly in her 5th grade classroom at Lincoln Elementary School. She loved her mom so much. Dr. Olivia Anderson, her mom, was a brilliant engineer who worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Lily always admired her mom's work. Her mom was smart and kind, and Lily couldn't wait to tell everyone about her. But today was different. Lily had always been proud of her mom's job, but some of the kids in her class didn't believe her. They thought it was too hard to believe that a woman, especially a mom, could work at NASA. It wasn't something they could understand. It wasn't a place where mothers worked. NASA was a place for astronauts, for people who did the impossible. It was a place for men, they thought, not for moms like Lily's. One day, Lily was sitting in her classroom when she excitedly said, "My mom works at NASA. She's an engineer there." Lily's eyes shone as she spoke about her mom. But instead of being proud or amazed, the other kids started laughing. One boy sneered and said, "Yeah, right. What does she do? Clean the rockets." The other kids giggled and whispered to each other. Lily's face turned bright red. Her heart started pounding in her chest. She couldn't believe they didn't believe her. Her fists clenched tightly under her desk. Why didn't they believe her? Was she wrong to be proud of her mom? Just when Lily was feeling the worst, something amazing happened. The classroom door creaked open, and the teacher stopped talking in mid-sentence. A man stepped inside the room. Lily's heart skipped a beat when she saw who it was. It was Keanu Reeves, the famous movie star everyone knew. The room fell silent. Everyone's eyes widened and mouths dropped open. Even the boy who had made fun of Lily was sitting still now, his face frozen in surprise. Lily could hardly believe it. Keanu Reeves was standing in her classroom. He was wearing his usual cool black coat and jeans, looking just like he did in the movies. He looked around the classroom, then smiled warmly at Lily. "You must be Lily," Keanu said, walking over to her desk and kneeling down to her level. "I just had a meeting with your mom at NASA. She's incredible. One of the smartest engineers I've ever met." Lily's eyes widened and her mouth went dry. You know my mom?" she whispered, barely able to believe her ears. Keanu smiled and nodded. "Of course. Your mom is working on something amazing. She's helping to build the future of space travel. I'm sure she told you all about it. She also told me that you love the stars just like she does." For a moment, there was complete silence in the room. The other kids who had just laughed at Lily now sat completely still. Their faces were red with embarrassment. The boy who had mocked Lily sank lower in his chair, looking down at his desk and avoiding her gaze. Lily couldn't believe what was happening. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel small or silly. She felt proud. She felt strong. Keanu turned to the teacher and asked, "Do you mind if I sit for a minute?" The teacher, still in shock, quickly nodded. "Of course, Mr. Reeves." Keanu pulled up a chair next to Lily and leaned in slightly as if he was telling her a secret just between the two of them. "Your mom is brilliant, you know," he said softly. "She's working on a project that might one day take us beyond Mars. She's part of something really important. You should be really proud of her." Lily felt a lump in her throat. She had always been proud of her mom, but hearing someone like Keanu Reeves say it made her feel even more special. She felt like her heart was swelling inside her chest. "I am," Lily said, her voice shaking a little as she nodded. Keanu smiled and looked around the room. "You know," he said in a calm but firm voice, "people used to laugh at the idea of going to the moon. They thought it was impossible. But here we are, years later, exploring space and pushing limits. It's because of people like your mom, people who dream big." His eyes met the boy who had made fun of Lily earlier. The boy quickly looked away, his fingers nervously tapping on his desk. He seemed uncomfortable. Keanu's words were clearly making him think. Keanu turned back to Lily and smiled. "I bet you have big dreams too, don't you?" Lily hesitated for a second. She had always dreamed of being an astronaut, but she had never told anyone. She didn't know if they would laugh at her too. "I want to be an astronaut," she said softly. Keanu grinned at her. "Then you will be," he said with a confidence that made Lily's heart skip. It felt like a promise. Just then the bell rang. The kids began gathering their backpacks, still sneaking glances at Lily. There was no laughter now, no whispers. Just silence. And maybe, just maybe, there was a little respect in the air. Keanu stood up from his chair and gently ruffled Lily's hair. "Tell your mom I said hi," he said, smiling warmly at her. Lily nodded and watched as he walked toward the door. But just before he stepped outside, he turned around and looked back at Lily with a knowing smile. "Oh, and one more thing," Keanu said. Lily tilted her head, wondering what he meant. Keanu smiled a little wider. Next time someone laughs at your dreams, remember, history is made by the people who refuse to listen to the doubters. Keep dreaming big, Lily. With that, Keanu turned and left the room. Lily sat quietly at her desk, still in shock. Her heart was pounding, but this time it was different. It wasn't the nervous pounding she had felt earlier when the kids laughed at her. This time, her heart was filled with hope and excitement. She felt like a fire had been lit inside her. She could do anything. She would reach the stars one day. That night, Lily lay in her bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars that her mom had put up on the ceiling years ago. The stars glowed softly, creating a little universe just for her. She traced the stars with her finger, whispering their names: Orion, Cassiopeia, Andromeda. She could almost feel the stars calling to her, telling her that her dreams weren't too big. They were possible. She heard footsteps outside her door and then a soft knock. "Sweetheart, are you still awake?" Her mom's voice came from outside the door. Lily hesitated for a moment, then rolled onto her side. "Yeah," she whispered. The door opened and her mom stepped inside. She was still wearing her work clothes. Her face looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes, but when she sat on the edge of Lily's bed, she smiled. "I heard you had an interesting day," her mom said. Lily swallowed. She had so much to say. "Keanu Reeves came to my class," she whispered, her voice still a little shaky from the excitement of it all. Her mom chuckled, brushing a strand of Lily's hair away from her forehead. "Yeah, he mentioned he might stop by." Lily blinked in surprise. "You knew?" Her mom nodded. "He was visiting NASA today. We talked about the new rover project. And I might have mentioned that my daughter was having some trouble with a few kids at school. I thought it might be fun for him to stop by and say hello." Lily couldn't believe it. Her mom had known all along. And now everything felt right. The laughter from the kids at school no longer mattered. Keanu Reeves had made her believe that her dreams could come true, just like her mom's had. From that day on, Lily knew one thing for sure. She was going to reach the stars one day. Lily's throat tightened and she whispered, "They laughed at me, Mom." Her mom sighed and rubbed her hands together, like she always did when she was deep in thought. "People laugh at things they don't understand, Emmy," she said gently. "They laughed at the Wright brothers before they flew their plane. They laughed at Katherine Johnson before she helped send men to the moon. They laughed at me when I said I wanted to work at NASA." Lily frowned, looking down at her hands. "They did?" Her mom nodded. "In college, some people didn't think a girl from a small town in Texas could ever build spacecraft. They didn't believe in me at first. But look at me now." She smiled. "And yet, here we are." Lily bit her lip, not sure what to say. She thought about how her classmates had teased her, how they laughed when she talked about NASA and being an astronaut. It hurt, but her mom's words helped a little. "I just don't get why people have to be so mean," Lily said softly. Her mom's gaze softened, and she put a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Because sometimes when people don't dream big themselves, they don't know how to handle those who do. They feel scared or uncomfortable because they can't imagine such big dreams." There was a long pause and Lily sat quietly thinking about what her mom had said. After a moment, she whispered, "Keanu said I can be an astronaut if I want to be." Her mom smiled wider, her eyes twinkling. "Well, he's a pretty smart guy." Lily felt something shift inside her, like a spark catching fire. Maybe today wasn't just about proving something to her classmates. Maybe it was about proving something to herself. She sat up a little straighter, feeling more determined. "Mom," she said. "Huh? Will you teach me more about the work you do?" Her mom's face lit up, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "I thought you'd never ask." That night, after her mom had gone to bed, Lily stayed awake, staring up at the stars. She had always loved looking at them, but tonight they didn't seem so far away. For the first time, they felt like they were within reach. She thought about what her mom had said. Maybe this was just the beginning. Dreams like hers weren't meant to stay on the ground. She was going to reach for them no matter what. The next days at school were different. The whispers and teasing started to change. No one laughed anymore when Lily talked about NASA. Some people still didn't talk to her much, but now she could feel their curiosity. The boy who had mocked her the most now seemed to hesitate before speaking. It was strange how people changed when they realized they had been wrong, but Lily didn't care. She had spent the entire weekend with her mom, looking at books about space, watching NASA documentaries, and even going through old project blueprints her mom had saved from her years working at JPL. For the first time, Lily saw her mom not just as mom, but as someone more. She saw her as a dreamer, a fighter, someone who had built her life against all odds. One evening, as Lily sat at the kitchen table, scribbling equations in the margins of her notebook, Her mom placed a cup of cocoa beside her. You know, her mom said, leaning against the counter, when I was a kid I used to look up at the stars and think, what if there's someone out there looking back? Lily looked up, intrigued. Like aliens? Her mom chuckled. Maybe. But I meant dreamers like us. People who look up at the sky and wonder what's beyond it. People who aren't afraid to imagine more. Lily thought about that for a long moment, staring into the swirling cocoa in her cup. Do you think I'll ever go up there? She asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Her mom walked over and crouched beside her, taking her hands in hers. I think if anyone can, it's you. Lily swallowed hard, her heart pounding in her chest. But, what if people keep laughing? Her mom squeezed her hands gently. Then let them. But don't you ever stop looking up. Those words wrapped around Lily's heart like a promise. She felt something powerful deep inside her, a spark of hope and determination that she had never felt before. She wasn't going to let anyone stop her from chasing her dreams. The next week at school, Lily did something she never would have done before. During science class, when the teacher asked if anyone had ever thought about working in space, Lily raised her hand. I want to be an astronaut, she said confidently. For a moment, the class was silent. Then, to her surprise, another hand went up. I do too, a girl from the back of the class said. Then another hand went up and another. Lily felt something shift inside her, something bigger than just herself. Maybe dreams were like sparks. Maybe when you dared to light yours, it gave others the courage to do the same. That afternoon, as she walked home, Lily looked up at the sky. It seemed so big, stretching far beyond what she could see, far beyond what she could even imagine. And she smiled because one day she was going to touch it. She didn't know exactly how yet, but she knew she would. Years passed, but Lily never let go of the fire that Keanu had unknowingly started in her that day. She read every book on space she could find, spent nights in her backyard with a telescope, and even built small rockets from kits her mom brought home. By the time she reached high school, she had earned a reputation, not as the girl who got laughed at, but as the one who refused to give up. Teachers encouraged her, and classmates who once teased her now came to her for help with their physics homework. Somewhere along the way, she stopped caring about proving anyone wrong. She only cared about proving herself right. But life had a way of testing even the strongest dreams. The night before her college applications were due, Lily sat at the dining table, textbooks scattered around her, calculations half finished. Her mom had been working late for weeks and Lily had barely seen her. When the front door finally creaked open, Lily jumped up, excited to tell her mom about the essay she had written. The one about how a single moment could change everything. Her mom smiled at her, weary but proud. Tell me about it. And Lily did. She told her mom about the essay she had written about how one moment, one word, one spark could change the direction of someone's life forever. How it had happened to her when Keanu said she could be an astronaut. How that small encouragement had turned her world upside down and made her believe in herself. Her mom nodded. You're going to do great things, Lily. I always knew you would. Lily smiled, feeling that spark of hope burning brighter than ever. The journey wasn't over, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready for whatever came next because she knew one thing for sure. Her dreams were worth reaching for. But when Lily saw her mom's face, the words disappeared from her mouth. Her mom stood in the doorway, holding onto the frame like she needed help to stand. Her bright eyes looked dull, and her hands shook as she put down her bag. Mom? Lily whispered, her stomach feeling tight. Her mom opened her mouth, then closed it like she didn't know what to say. Finally, she let out a deep, heavy breath. I lost my job, sweetheart. The words felt like a big rock crashing into Lily's chest. NASA is cutting money, her mom said, her voice shaky. They are letting a lot of people go, and I'm one of them. Lily felt the room spin. But you've worked there for years. They can't just do that. Her mom gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. They can, and they did. Silence filled the room. It felt thick and heavy. Lily always wanted to be like her mom. She wanted to walk in the same hallways, work on the same space missions. But now those hallways had closed their doors on the person she admired most. Will you be okay? Lily's voice was soft, almost like a whisper. Her mom nodded, but it didn't seem real. I'll figure something out. That night, Lily lay in bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on her ceiling. They used to make her feel excited about the future. But now, for the first time, she wasn't sure if dreams were enough. And that scared her. The days that followed felt strange. The house was quieter. The air felt heavier. Lily watched her mom go through her daily tasks, cooking, folding laundry, sending emails for new jobs. But something was missing. The spark, the excitement, the strong belief that made her mom unstoppable. Lily wanted to fix it. She wanted to say something to make everything better. But what? What could she do? One evening, after a long school day, she found her mom sitting at the kitchen table, holding an old NASA mission patch. Lily stopped, then walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Mom?" Her mom looked up, surprised, like she hadn't heard Lily come in. Lily took a deep breath. "You always told me that people laughed at the Wright brothers," she said. "At Katherine Johnson. To anyone who dreamed big. But they didn't stop. They kept going." She swallowed hard. "So why should you stop?" Her mom's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't say anything. Lily reached into her backpack and pulled out a crumpled envelope. She had planned to show it in a big, exciting way. But now it felt like the right moment. She slid the envelope across the table. "I got in," she whispered. Her mom frowned a little, confused. She picked up the envelope, her fingers shaking as she opened it. Her eyes moved over the words. Then she gasped. "Accepted into MIT's aerospace engineering program." Her breath caught in her throat. "You did it?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Lily nodded. "And so did you." Her mom shook her head, wiping her eyes. "No, sweetheart. This is all you." Lily took her mom's hand and squeezed it tight. "No, Mom. Just, you made me believe I could do this. And I still believe you can do anything too." Her mom let out a shaky laugh. And for the first time in weeks, Lily saw the spark return to her eyes. A few months later, Lily stood at the airport, her bags packed. Her heart was pounding with excitement and nerves. She was about to step into a new world. A world full of possibilities, challenges, and dreams bigger than ever before. Her mom pulled her into a tight hug. "Go show them what Anderson can do," she whispered. Lily smiled. "I will." As she sat in the airplane, she looked out the window, up at the sky she had spent her whole life dreaming about. And now she was finally on her way to reach the stars. If you like this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.